Hello and welcome to HangarReady, post Invictus week, or almost, it'll be over soon, show. And we just want to go choo 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 train, him a doll there. Thank you, Duma Loop, howdy. I want to introduce my co host this evening. Jolly, how are you doing this weekend?
Doing great.
Great. Turing, how about yourself?
Awesome.
Wonderful. Nom.
Doing good.
Great. Josh, how's everything out on the left coast?
Well, it's going to be a fantastic weekend. If I was a weatherman, I would tell you it's going to be 107 on Monday.
Oh, wow, that's hot.
Yeah.
Shapcap, how are you doing down there in the swampy swamp?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. Well, it's been an interesting week. We streamed last week. We normally don't stream every week, but we thought for Invictus we'd do something special. And we had an org op on Sunday with about 40 people that tagged along to check out Invictus Week and tour everything. So, Turing, why don't you kind of run us through your Invictus Week breakdown?
Hey, all right. So another Invictus Week in the can, Invictus Week 2951. We thought we would break down a couple of things, just, typically how we look at this stuff, what's the good, what's the not so good, and what's the wish we could have had. We're going to start with the not so good, at least in our opinion, not so good. And I'll lead off. One of the things I wrote down was the fireworks. Did anybody see the fireworks? I know you could hear them, but did anybody see the fireworks at the event? I don't know why they had this. I seriously, you can't see them from the venue. It would have been really nice if you had an open, open skyline at the Tobin Center. You could have it going on, but I think it was just a resource drain that they probably should not have done. And in the same lines, the hologram at the entrance. Now, during our org operation or event where we toured things on Sunday, the hologram was actually working, and it was really, really good when it worked. I mean, you step out of the elevators and you saw this big guy just start talking to you, but most of the time you just heard the voice. And I think the reason they turned it off was probably because of a resource drain. And I'll say the last one for last, or the last one we have here in just a second. I'm sure somebody will get to it. But hey, Shap, what were some of the things that, in your opinion, they didn't quite hit it out of the park with this time?
I think they had some lofty goals. The fireworks, I do agree with you. It was cool to see coming in, but once you're in, you couldn't really see them. I didn't even realize there was a hologram there until it appeared one day. I was wondering what the big amphitheater was for. I was hoping they'd have some kind of presentations or something, but that never happened. And also you kind of hit something I was going to talk about is I think it would be amazing if they had an elevator or something that took you to some kind of pad up on the roof, where they had, what's their elite squadron? Is it the 999s?
Yeah.
Where they had the 999s do a flyby or something like that. I thought that would have been awesome to see as well. Perhaps we'll see it, for the anniversary sale, something like that. But I thought that would have been cool. Missed opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah. Jolly, I know we all went to the Javelin tour. Jolly, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, real quick, the fireworks, I saw them multiple times. I saw them today too. I think they look great, but I agree. Are they worth the lag? I'm not so sure about that one. The hologram, for whatever reason, every day I visited, it was there. No glitches, no problems whatsoever. The Javelin tour itself, I was disappointed in. I really thought they would have opened up more of the ship to us. Mainly, I like to see the cockpit, the command bridge, and stuff like that. I mean, great. I can walk around your hallways or look at your mess hall, or look at your, bedding, but recreation area, that's
Yeah,
about
it was
it. It
almost
looks to a turret, but I can't do anything with it. Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, to me, it was almost like just a brighter version of the Hammerhead. Walking around the hallways of the Hammerhead in some ways. I mean, it looked kind of like that. Namidius, what your feedback from the?
Kind of the same thing. I wasn't quite as disappointed in the interior, partly because I didn't really have any expectations. But it was just pretty meh inside. But at the same time, I kind of appreciate if it's just all business and not a lot of flash at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm not too invested in that one way or the other.
Cool. All right, so then we thought about some of the things that we wish we could have had this time around. I think I mentioned this the last Invictus, or at least during the IAEE whatever the annual show. They do really good with allowing you to rent the ships. If you're going to put the weapons and components out there, maybe you can try to look at getting people an opportunity to rent those too. It'd be a good time for folks in the game to see, hey, I'm thinking about trying out, see the 788s versus, a laser, maybe have the Gauderines out there for you to put on stuff. I mean, it's just be an opportunity for you to look and see what the different types of components and weapons might be available to you, and then just let people have them for the week or whatever, and then they go poof at the end. I mean, you can do it with the ships, you could do it with the components, I think, but it may be just too much to work on.
Well, hey,
You know-
Turin.
I don't know. Yep.
You notice how he skipped over me about my complaints.
I'll get back to you.
Right over
That's-
me.
We
That's
may
what
not
you
have
get
enough
for-
time.
That's what you get for naming me the first segment thing, man. So
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
I'm more of a jump in kind of guy than the leader kind of guy. So,
Yeah, well.
so Josh, what do you got?
Well, from the Fighter Mafia, we've done a lot of testing and, deciding whether or not to use stock loadouts or to have upgraded shields or weapons or power management. I don't know how many people understand what the difference is in terms of how strong it can make your shields, how much power it can give to your weapons. And now I think people need to really understand as well, something that I tried out recently was just, again, overclocking. There's little downside and it produces a lot of power. So I think it's an interesting dynamic that people should understand, and it gives them a gameplay loop. Oh, hey, look, I tried these shields, I tried these guns. Now I want to go earn them in game. So I agree with you that they should have them, and I think there's a reason because you can see an actual difference in your ship's performance.
Yeah, Jay.
Oh, well, where do I get started? Yeah, it's buggier than it should be. I only died about a half a dozen times trying to get into the Javelin because even though I have a monster of a computer, it's not rendering in the entire gangway of the docking collar. And so I would get about halfway out and then I would have to float through space, but not really because the thing was there. So if I got too far out of the center, I killed myself on invisible walls, even though I was floating and not walking. And getting back from it was impossible. And then when I died, I got locked in my room and couldn't get out without quitting the server and leaving the party. So, yeah, I think it was a bloated, hot mess, really. That's my honest opinion. I would say that, it's definitely not as good as the last sale that they did, the yearly sale. And, I really think that they could have done a much better job. So CIG, it was worse than last time, and that's really bad because last time wasn't that good.
That's one of the comments that I had up there is that, what could we have had? Well, more oomph for Invictus in general. I mean, it was very low key this year. And even including what was leading up to it. I remember last year they had several videos, the ships, flying through Microtech, the little kid that's going out and joining the Navy and all this kind of stuff. They didn't have any of that this time, and I think they really missed something when they had Xeno Threat. They had a lot of stuff that they could pull from. You got a sense of it when you went into the actual hall and you could see on the screen for whatever manufacturer was running that day, they were running like little small commercials and things like that. They really should be doing stuff like that, on the weeks leading up to it, I think, to just do the hype. And the same with Drake. I mean, I went to the Drake presentation today. Man, that feels dated now. I mean, it really does. I mean, it's kind of cool that you got this thing called Defense Con and Drake wants to get its name in there, and the whole, Drake versus everybody else, kind of thing. That's great. But you walk in there, it's one big caterpillar and just lining up with cutlasses on the side, and it's just getting old. So I was really hoping that they would have a little bit more from. Of course, Drake doesn't have much out. I got it, but it's just getting dated with that kind of mentality. I don't know.
It seems like they thought that bringing the Bengal out and the Javelin out to fly around was good enough, because that's really the only thing they did. It was a cut and paste from last year.
Sort
Except-
of.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
I
honestly
think it was.
I
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it was a lower.
It was
from
better
last
than
year.
last year.
It's
I
less
believe it's
because,
better than last year.
Yeah, I go the better way. I go the other way. I
Didn't
think
they
it was better.
have the F8s? They weren't landing on the pads next to the Javelin, were they?
No.
No.
Yeah, last year that was really cool when they had those coming in landing, even if they were a little janky at times. It was kind of cool to watch. This time there was none of that.
Yeah, and when you went into the venue at Area 18, when you walked in, you had they had the F8 on one side, you had another venue on the right hand side, you had the MacArthur statue. They had all that this time, but I think because of the architecture that was available at Microtech, it gets spread out, and so if you decided not to take the long run to the side areas, you missed seeing the F8. It wasn't out prominent like it should have been. It should be along the sides, of at least the main hall there. Some more stuff, and you've had an opportunity to flesh out the UEE Navy and all that kind of stuff. Put your artists to work on putting together some really cool displays. I mean, just make it look a little bit more presentation, professional. I don't know, Shap. I mean, you do this kind of stuff. I mean, what do you think?
I think what made the in-game representation of what a trade show would be, what's missing there would just be the people. Those kind of shows have tons of people roaming all over the place, sales reps, food stands, other kinds of crap all over the place. They did add in, demos. They did add NPCs taking selfies, which I thought was hilarious. If you stood around and watched the NPCs, they would sit there and they'd pull up their Moby glass and they'd like do one of these, like looking back at it. I thought that was kind of neat. And say what you will about the lead up for the event, but I think the Invictus video they put out was awesome. The Join the Fleet video, I think that thing was pretty cool. And I put it on Reddit, and the most commented thing was how awesome the Bengal sounded popping out of Quantum. It had this big like boom when it popped out,
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, and people got really hyped up about how awesome the Quantum sounded. But all in all, I think it was on par with last year. I wouldn't say it was worse personally. I think it was different. I don't think it was negatively different. I enjoyed it, overall.
I
guess
can't
my-
believe it was better than last year. I really, really believe it was.
Plus one jolly.
Yep.
Okay. I would say that at best it was on par, if not slightly worse.
Well, there were some really good things, and I know CIG, if you're watching, that we do this on purpose. We do this to help, but there's some really good stuff. No, trust me, we're here to help. We're here to help. There was some really good stuff, and I'm actually going to say that the ship displays again are nicely done. Even though you've got a big venue at the Tobin Center, you feel like you got to walk a long ways there. The display that they put out, the accompanying signs and the information, it does look very professional. And the Crusader Day was fantastic. You pop up at the top of the escalator kind of stairs or whatever it is, and there's all three of those Hercules just staring right at you, and it was pretty impressive. RSI Day as well, when they arrange all the constellations around like that. The Tobin Center, the layout of it makes it a little bit hard. We did say that internal elevators would be nice. You do it for the R&Rs. Why can't I take a little side elevator to ride to someplace in the back or something? But because it takes a long time to run wherever you're going to go. But still, the actual displays, when you went downstairs, and for like the Tobril, the Nova tank one was awesome looking. They really do make a nice background with that. So that was nicely done. And the Bengal flyby, hey, that was the centerpiece for what we were doing this time, is to actually see the Bengal ship, there in game. It was impressive when you got to it. I'm telling you, if you didn't have the opportunity to pull your largest ship out that you can currently fly and get right up next to it and feel like you were a gnat, you missed out for something. And if you get too close, those antennas will slice you right up to bits, just right to shreds. So I know a number of us went by and took a close look. And Josh, I think you took a really good close look at it.
I did, but before we take a look at that in the next segment, I wish we had some pushy sales guys running around trying to tell you why you should buy this ship or upgrade that. It'd be pretty awesome. Maybe they follow you around or something.
Life imitating art there.
Yeah,
Art
exactly.
imitating life,
For
something
sure.
like
Yeah.
that.
Somebody walking around handing out a card or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
if you go to a show, you expect to be bugged and harassed about buying
People walking
something,
around with bags,
Yeah, some
goodie
merch.
bags, merch.
Yeah.
bags.
That'd be awesome if there was
Swag
a
bag.
random NPC
swag
giving out.
Yeah.
Like a random NPC giving out like Drake hats or something to a couple
Well,
of people.
we did get the flight jacket this year. Everybody gets a permanent flight jacket in their actual inventory, not in their hangar, not in their gonna get wiped inventory, which is nice.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people were salty about that after the last one because they would disappear after a reset.
Right.
So.
Now, I also think there's been a missed opportunity on a couple of occasions where I can't remember if it was the last December sale or if it was the previous Invictus, but they had the big banners and I found out you could actually get on the banner and walk up. And the cool part was you could see the ships from a different perspective. And I think they need some kind of place or scaffolding,
Catwalk.
something. Yeah, something to where you can come around and take a look at that ship in a different way. I think that would be really awesome. Something they could add for a feature.
Yeah, elevated lounge space would be
that
nice.
Would be
Sponsored
nice,
by somebody.
Catwalk.
Yeah.
And just make the overhead see-through so you can be and like you said, somebody said earlier, have an elevator to go up to the top.
Yeah.
See the fireworks and flybys and be able to look down in there if you wanted to.
And then I just need some hot dog wrappers around and we'll be good.
Well, you could just put a G-Lock, lounge bar on the top of the Tobin Center.
I think that'd be the way to do it.
That.
Add the Million Mile High Club for the super VIPs. All that. I mean, because those are all real things. That are at conventions. Yeah. I think what they have to contend with that makes it difficult is they have to make the space able to contain the ships of the biggest manufacturer. So when you have a day where you have somebody that doesn't really have a bunch of capital-sized ships, the room's really empty, right? Like you shove an 890 and a 600 series in there, and then you've got RSI, who their biggest ship is a Constellation right now, right? So you've got all that space. Either you cram 40 Constellations in there and a bunch of Ursas, or you just have a big empty room,
Or RSI could just release the Polaris. I'm just saying.
Hey, man, no comment there. Yeah.
Give us the skin.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. I think you got something to show us on the Bengal flyby, right?
We do. So I did take a look at the flyby. Thank goodness that they had a Hammerhead and some other ships in the formation with it, because if you didn't have that, it'd be really hard to see what that looked like. But you're going to see a video here of me trying to land on the Bengal carrier, and there's no real collisions. And you don't really touch down on the deck, so it's kind of was like colliding with it, and eventually my ship explodes. But I actually did get there and no one shot me, so I figured I would die and end up in prison, so I just ended up back in my bed. But it was interesting to try, and I thought that view with the fleet coming by all in total was a nice spectacle, and it did give you some understanding of the size and scale of that ship. That begs the question to me of just how powerful is that ship going to be, and what size org could take it, and how much resource and time is it going to take to utilize it? Because that's just got to be. I mean, I think the Hercules ships are about $100,000 to refuel or something like that. And I know the 890 was, so I can't even imagine what the fuel bill is on something like that. So, you got to use it strategically, but I just wonder how much it's going to take, how much time, and how powerful that really will be for the universe.
Well, it's sort of like the Bentley of the Star Citizen. If you have to ask, you can't afford it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is not very many orgs and all your resources.
If you got to ask how many people it's going to take, your org's not big enough.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got to ask, is it even worth it? What are you going to do with that thing?
If you
Well,
got to ask,
I think I like Jolly's plan for the bingos that we find out there. Jolly, what's your plan for that again?
Salvage the hell out of them so no one else can get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go full on shipbreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. One of the things, though, that having the Javelin tour demonstrated this time was that station or ship to station docking is now viable in the game. Although I think tier 0, it's still kind of tier 0, 0.5 maybe. You only have, I think, 2 ships right now in this current patch, the Hammerhead and the 890. I know the 890 can do it because a guy I fly around with, Big for Life, I know he's out there. He landed my 890 or docked my 890 one night, almost manually up until the very last bit. So it can be done. But that opens up so much more gameplay for larger, and it makes it really exciting for the larger ship owners to have that coming in. And to see, and going down to that area and seeing the docking lounge, and then even though I think they need some lights on the actual tube that goes out to the ship, if you go to the regular docking port, there are advertisements that line the docking arm that come out, so it is well lit. It is a walk, don't run. Venue, please don't run down the center of the aisle. You will do a J and start bouncy, and you will die.
I was not running. I was walking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just
one
for the
thing,
record.
One thing, Turin,
Okay.
is on the docking ports, maybe it was just a bug, but so far I've found that you can't refuel, rearm, and repair
No.
a docking port.
Ooh.
That needs
Yeah.
to be fixed.
Yeah, you
I've
can't do that.
noticed-
That's why I said it was tier 0. I think it's just the mechanic now, but you
Yeah.
cannot do that. The only way I was able to refuel my 890 is give it its own backspace burrito and refill it.
Now,
I've
there was
noticed
another-
the ships are spawning unlocked attached to the docking bay as well. Like the
Hmm.
Hammerhead, you can you could spawn it and just run right in.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same with the 890 or not.
Well,
but,
the 890 comes with its own little bug in that you can't. You seem like you can't open the door from the outside. The only problem is the door is not really physically there, so you just
have to run
basically just
through
go right through it, turn
Yeah.
around, and then open it for the rest of your runs, but they're behind you.
The other thing I noticed is I was trying to do a manual dock, and so I had left port, turned around, came back, requested docking. It assigned me a dock. And when I came back, I was trying to line up the 3 little green dots for the manual docking. And I didn't realize, 'cause I didn't understand the symbology just yet, that it wanted me to turn my ship around and reorient the same way I came out. I couldn't dock back to the other side. So I don't know if there's a way to tell or to determine which side you want to dock on, but I think that needs to be an option as well, since the 890 in particular has a dock on either side.
Yeah, it's
But
only the
I've
port
only
side.
ever- Yeah, it's
sorry,
only
no.
ever seen it. Only ever seen it docked port side.
we need a docking camera.
That would be
Yeah,
nice.
the thing I didn't realize is when you come in, there are 3 circles that you have to actually line up. 2 of them have to actually go on top of each other in the center circle. So that was fooling me when I first started doing it. But when I figured that out, then I was able to do it just fine.
For the CIG folks that are watching us, there's a game that is now defunct called Hellion.
Yep.
You really should go watch the videos for their docking interface and take some notes. And then go bang your head against a wall, come back and take some notes again, and it basically implement that system. It's a very intuitive system for docking collars.
Yeah, I think they're
And
close. I think
they're close,
but
It's close.
they need a major
it's gonna be
revamp.
good.
that last
It's
little
at least
step.
doable. I've managed to do it, and I'm not the best at these systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about, the last thing for the Invictus, and of course it's not by many means the last, but we have talked about the Javelin Tour, and there wasn't a lot of stuff that was opened up, and you really didn't get to see anything. But my gosh, you actually got to go aboard a Javelin. So I mean, that in itself was one of the goods. And one of the things I liked about that was the integration that CIG did in the game itself with the signage all around. If you went to the R&Rs, if you were riding the Microtech transit system, you had a little sign that said where the Javelin was located and how much time was remaining
Yeah.
in to see it. And that, I mean, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but
that was huge.
but to me, that's just an indication that you can push information out in real time inside the game, and it goes on the monitors that are there, and I think that's great. And then there was the thing about the NPCs that were inside the Javelin, the ones that gave you the little talk, but the ones that were hilarious were the dudes who were bored out of their gourd. And you could hear them standing there going, oh my god, this is so boring, or
Yawning.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did that on purpose or some dev slipped that one in, but it was hilarious, and that made the tour for me.
I like that the NPCs would get more and more frustrated with you as you hung out longer than you were supposed to.
Yeah.
And each one of them had their own, like, tour's closing, you should head towards the exit. And then when you got to right before the you go to jail part, they were considerably more angry with, like, leave now. And I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah, and the guards guarding the various places, they were no nonsense, man. I mean, basically it was everything but turn your ass around and get out of here kind of stuff.
Well, in the PTU they did the chicken dance, which I thought was hilarious. But then once you got in, they actually gave you the firm stop hand and the point.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Wave you on.
Anyway, Jay, that was the.
Here's the big thing about the Javelin, because while I was frustrated by the Javelin tour, to say the least, once on there, I had an epiphany, and that's a big freaking ship. We really only got to see the bunk areas for all practical purposes, and they're like 80 bunks. It's huge. How on earth do people now who have purchased one of those with the idea that they're going to solo a Javelin? What is your thoughts on just how insane trying to solo a Javelin with NPCs and AI blades?
Jay,
you ever the battering ram?
You ever seen those little tiny cars that are jacked way up and not four-wheel drive and have the big giant wheels?
Yes.
They're pretty useless, right?
More useful than single person Javelin.
I'm just saying, I guess unless you want to show off or something, there's no way. I mean, I can't even.
It's a flex ship.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. The amount of, I think it comes derelict, right? Like there's no weapons and whatever. So you have to be able to spend a bunch of resources to get it to work. And then the crew requirements, I mean, thinking about the bingo and that, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. I think it's a big org ship, and that's it.
I'm not even sure you can actually solo it. I mean, they got an engine room we didn't see. They've got the
whole bridge
navigation that we didn't see, the whole bridge and stuff. The helm guy, hey, I helmed. I mean, I was a helmsman on a USS guided missile cruiser at one point in my life. All I did was turn the damn thing. Okay, so if when I flip that engine order telegraph, if the guys down in the engine room didn't dial up the right stuff that you needed, the ship didn't go. So you've got a problem if you think that you're just going to have that ship all by yourself and not be able to take it out. The realization came when the NPC said, we got a mess crew here. They're open 24 hours a day. We got, we run a normal crew complement anywhere between 40 and 80 people. 40's the minimum, 80's the high, but you got to have somebody cranking out in the mess decks all the time. So, I don't think anybody's going to be able to do it.
And those ships are always selling out. Like they just keep selling and selling and selling. So
yeah.
I mean, must be a lot of people buying them, a lot more than I would think organized people can use at this point, at least.
Yeah. Well, if you promise to not tell anybody, I was able to find a way onto the bridge of the Javelin, and there are no less than 8 crew positions on the bridge.
Did you take pictures?
I may have. It's multi-tiered. It's multi-tiered, and there are a bunch of positions for crewmen. And CIG actually did a really good job of putting, and there are people there, there are NPCs there who were doing their jobs in their seats, but CIG was smart enough to put them in clear boxes, so you couldn't actually get to them. And they also put a bunch of what I would call trap positions, where you could be like, oh, I want to enter that position, and you would, but then you couldn't get back out of it again.
Right.
So, yeah, anybody who thinks they're doing one of these things on their own or with some NPC blades is out of their mind. I mean, how you even can tell the guys what to do, you know? So
I honestly think if you're not in an org with at least 400 people, bare minimum,
yeah,
probably more like 800 or 900.
Yeah.
Is that
A javelin's a waste of space for you.
isn't that ship persistent? Meaning,
No.
it's
No,
not
No,
built.
it
Bingo's the
spawns.
only one that I know that
Okay.
they've said there was going to be. But I was even thinking about, my Polaris or something like that. Is it going to be hard to even run something like that?
yeah, just shuttle it around, you know?
I
Like
will say this.
Stevedore.
I will say this. It's not 100% though. Things like point defense turrets, I think people can reasonably fill with, as long as the NPCs are somewhat effective. You could supplement some spots if you don't have quite enough crew for the day for simple positions like that, where all the AI has to do is shoot at incoming targets. More complicated things, like you're going to have engineering needs, other issues, that has to be done with a player. You just can't depend on an NPC for that.
You're going to need 20 to 40 people to crew
At
one
the
of those
least,
things
yes.
into
Yeah.
combat. I
At the
mean,
least.
and I mean, the thing's just got guns galore. And, even if you put the guns on NPCs, you're still going to need people to do maintenance and damage control and, repelling borders and all that stuff. So you're going to need a crew of 20, 30, 40, depending. And, let's say it's 40. And keep in mind, that's 40 just to crew that ship. It's not to crew any other ship to go with it to, protect it against, bombers and whatnot. But, your law of averages says that in order to crew that, you need about 10 times more players than that in your org. So, I mean, if you're talking about 40 people, you need 400 with the complement, of other ships. You probably need like 800 members in your org to be able to crew one of them. How many orgs has that many players? I mean, it just, it's a handful. I mean, well, it's a couple dozen that could crew one at any given time. And, there's probably only a handful that could crew multiple at the same time.
Without it being a sitting duck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
combat effective.
Properly supported. Yeah.
Yeah. Combat effective. Not just a sitting target out there. I mean, it's kind of like Idris's, except the Idris is big. Don't get me wrong. I've walked next to it, but the scope of the Javelin just makes the Idris and the Karak and the Hammerhead just pale in comparison. That was the awe that I felt from actually getting inside the Javelin versus getting to see it at a dock floating outside.
Yeah, it gives you the vibe of a real Navy ship
Yes.
for sure.
Yep. It's huge.